Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Daniel with POVPOOL. Today is Tuesday, May 26th, and I am sitting here with John Barton of JB Cases, and I thought it'd be a great idea to catch up with John Barton during the pandemic, during the shutdown, the quarantine, and see what it's like to be the best Q case maker in the world during a situation like this. So take it away, John. I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, what's it like? Well, first of all, thank you for the best case maker description. You know, I don't really consider us to be the best case maker, but I think we have the broadest range of stuff. So, but we're always trying to improve. So, you know. Yeah, it's been because we have a workshop in China. It's been a little bit stressful to figure out the shipping and the logistics and materials moving and stuff like that. But more than that, it's just been the worry, you know, on two continents basically of, you know, our people over there and you know, our people and our customers over here. You know, a lot of our customers we have really good friendly relationships with, you know, and it's not faceless, so we feel it when they hurt.
Yeah. So we're going right into China, I guess. You have the workshop in China. That's your official JB Case workshop, as you refer to it. Did you have any kind of like advance notice to the COVID thing? Because obviously you would have that almost daily communication with people in China, correct?
We do, but actually we didn't. We really didn't. We found out kind of in January. I mean, Karen had pretty much the same information as people did here, just in China. And yeah, that's what we had. So we were pretty much on the same timeline as everybody else. They did lock down the city where our workshop is.
What city is that, by the way?
It's a shaman. It's like an Indian shaman is the pronunciation, but it's Xiamen.
Oh, like Xiamen.
Xiamen, yeah.
Xiamen, yeah. Is that near Beijing, or is it? What's the relation to?
If you pictured where Beijing is, like say up here, and you pictured Hong Kong down here,
okay.
Xiamen is right in the middle. It's okay. Like where Taiwan is, Xiamen is right off the coast of Taiwan.
Okay. It's a city.
It's a city. It's actually a city island. It's on an island.
Oh.
And Taiwan, of course, is an island too. And then Xiamen is connected to the larger region by several bridges, you know, and tunnels.
So you've had to probably deal with a lot of unexpected changes in your service terms to customers, correct?
Yeah, the main thing has been just longer lead times.
Delivery and stuff like that.
Say that again, please.
In terms of delivery and manufacturing?
Yeah, because it's been harder for us, especially when China was locked down. We literally couldn't get any supplies. We couldn't get any D-rings or the metal parts that we use or the leather even. You know, so we were running out of material. Even our tubes, we were running out of tubes. So they ended the lockdown just in time for us to really kind of start being able to get all that stuff and keep going. But it did delay some cases because we didn't have the right parts for those particular orders.
they were on lockdown as well. Did you have to, like, did you have any layoffs or furloughs or anything like that?
We did not. We didn't have anything. We paid everybody all the way through. We asked them to just do whatever they could to stay healthy, and checked in with them to make sure they were safe and everything was good. But we had committed. Karen and I had basically committed to draw down all of our savings if that's what it took. I mean, we'd have to go completely all the way bust before we started, laying people off. Because a lot of people don't. I shouldn't say it like that. It's like there's certain phrases we can't use anymore. But
Okay.
one thing about me, when I started this and I started realizing that we have to hire more people, was I said to Karen, I said, I want to make sure that whatever we do, they have work. They can count on having work. So I don't want to grow to an unsustainable thing where when sales contract, now because we filled up the market or whatever, that now we have to start laying off people.
Okay.
So we can preserve profit or whatever.
Mm.
So for me, every time someone comes to work for us, we tell them two things. Number one, you have to come in and work for a week or two and see if you like it. And if our team likes you, and that's made clear to everyone. And number two, if you then stay, or if the team wants you to stay, it's mutual, then you have a job until you don't want to work here anymore. And those are the two things that I promised them, and when this all started going down, Karen and I didn't hesitate. We didn't have there wasn't even any bit of discussion about whether anybody's going to get laid off or fired or anything.
This is interesting. It sounds like more like a family approach than an approach of, say, a large production line or something like that.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that we treat everybody like family necessarily, but I will say this, that it's my job to make sure they have work when I hire them. And, that's one reason I get out there and do so much promotion and so much talking about stuff. And I bristle at knockoffs that purport to be like us and everything, because I want to make sure my first duty, in my opinion, is to make sure that they keep working, because they have spent their time listening to me go off about every minuscule thing about cases, and watching me rant and rave and fading that.
Yeah.
And so their reward is that when things get a little bit tough, they don't have to worry about whether they're going to get laid off. They're not just another cog in the machine.
Right. Yeah. I mean, one of your motivations for launching JB Cases, I think, is that you wanted to serve the billiard industry with the best overall product that money could buy. Is that correct?
The best case, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just felt like things I felt like that with my previous company, InStroke,
yeah,
I had never really been able to reach the level of case making that I wanted to be at. We turned that into a factory type case, and because I had three partners, everything turned into a discussion and a debate about, if you want to make the case 1 inch longer to
accommodate.
And this is not hypothetical. This was actually a big giant argument that we had, because cues started to get a little bit longer, pins started to get a little bit longer, joint protectors longer and fancier. We noticed that our cases were too short, and we were constantly having to take the bottoms off and take out a little bit of padding. And I said to these guys, I said, look, we've gone through 2 years of this, and I know that there's tons of people out there who are buying our case off the wall, and they're not going to take their bottoms off and do all this.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we just make the case, 1 inch longer, and that'll take care of, 90% of the cue needs that is happening now. And you wouldn't believe the knockdown drag out fight that we got into over this. And I mean, I think that I destroyed a door, that day. And it was a German door, so it hurt my foot more than it hurt the door, probably. It took a long time to destroy that door. But that was pretty much the day where I gave up on my partners and I said, you know what, screw these guys. I brought them in to be part of my vision, not for me to be subservient to theirs. And so that was the beginning of the end, really. And it was about, 4 years before I finally ended up completely out of the company and sold the name and everything.
Was it I mean, I didn't expect to talk about InStroke at all, but was it sort of like a hierarchy that you had with each other, where one guy was doing the engineering, the other guy would do the marketing, and the other one financial? Or was it that type of response, or were you all equally involved in the creative design concept?
No, it was supposed to be, and I was very clear with them when I did this. I was very, very clear that I didn't want any input unless I asked for it.
Okay.
And even when I asked for it, I was wanting to include them because we're all part of the company, but I don't want to be overridden. I don't want to be told no, and so on. And obviously when you've got partners, I can't go in and say, well, let's invest $200,000 in some machine or something because I think that'll make the case better. That's obviously a discussion that we all have to come to an agreement on as partners.
Right.
But no, it was supposed to be pretty much me as the creative direction, and the decision maker as far as how the cases are made and every part that goes on them. And unfortunately, it ended up not being that way as promised. And I'm a handshake kind of guy, like I didn't. We actually had a contract because we have to have a founding contract when we start a company together. But in that contract, it was pretty generic, just boilerplate pretty much. And nobody's duties were pretty much spelled out except who had to be named as CEO and so on, so it was pretty much a handshake as far as what my role was in that company. And that's ultimately what drove me out, because it was, too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak.
Right. So you must have been pretty relieved when you were able to walk away and launch the JB brand.
Yeah. I mean, I took 4 years off, and then I got an itch to make cases again, and I had never stopped really kind of thinking about it. And after I quit InStroke, I actually had, for a little while, I had a company that I called QCaseRepair.com.
Okay.
And I had people sending me cases from all over the country. So the reason that I did that was I knew how to repair them, number one. So it was easy money. But number two, it was an easy way for people it was an easy way to get paid to learn about all the other cases that were out there.
I see.
And so it was a good education for a couple of years to see kind of different ways people have done things.
Yeah, you were reverse engineering things essentially.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was learning by repairing.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of great cue makers, they learn a lot of their, skills from looking at other cues.
Yeah, that was also on my mind back when I started it.
Okay. Oh, really? You wanted to be a cue maker? Wow.
No, not a cue maker. Not a cue maker. It was on my mind that a lot of the better cue makers had started out doing cue repairs, and through the cue repairs, they had learned a lot of what works and what doesn't work, what's good and bad practice, and so on.
Oh, I see. So you followed that as a model almost.
That was on my mind back then.
Okay.
To do that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So then when I went ahead and started the new company, or the new brand, I just wanted to explore a lot of those techniques and a lot of other leather techniques, that I had been scrapbooking, so to speak. I wanted to go well beyond where I'd ever been before in case making.
Yeah.
With no one to put the brakes on me and tell me no. Now I do have someone putting the brakes on me, but she can make an actual good argument as to why. And
oh, you're talking about Mrs. Barton.
Yeah, the actual boss, by the way.
Yeah, the actual boss, right?
Yeah, because without Karen, there's honestly, I have to be honest, there's no JB cases.
Well, that's what Jimmy Mattia refers to Geraldine as the boss with the sauce. Say hi to the boss with the sauce. That's what he says.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know you both, and I can definitely believe that. but not because I don't think that you're equal partners or equally capable, but because I know how important it is to have an intelligent, compassionate, and driven person by your side, to kind of keep you on keel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and creative too. She's,
yeah, absolutely. I didn't mean to not say that,
yeah.
but I mean,
no,
and
I'm
Karen
just
also has blossomed into a major creative person.
Mm.
I think that was something that was always inside of her.
Mm-hmm.
She was a former semi-professional dancer in China. She's actually performed for millions of people. Or
Wow,
she's performed on programs that have had verified audiences of millions, tens of millions of people.
Right.
Which is not hard to get in China. But the point of it is that being a part of those troops that are, because they take it very seriously,
Mm-hmm.
being good enough to be on those teams, is an accomplishment in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I think that she's been able to channel a lot of that into the cases now. And you're going to even see some cooler and greater stuff coming out because she's really enjoying it now.
Mm. Well, I mean, if you just look behind you in the background, because I talked to you about this before, like just the textiles and the choice of color. And I know a lot of these are custom orders as well, but some of these are really kind of one-offs that Karen comes up with.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the things I did that worked out really well when I had InStroke
mm-hmm.
was I would go to like the leather brokers in Germany who would buy all of the remnants from the big factories making couches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they would have these big warehouses and I would climb up on them like a monkey, I'd ask them, I'd say, hey, can I go up and,
That's
get that?
a visual right there.
Well, back then I was in my 20s, so I didn't think too much about it. And they, they had pretty sturdy scaffolding and all that, or the shelving.
Okay.
So, but sometimes I'd be 3 stories up in the air, hunting through leather and looking for really cool pieces. Then I would take all of those pieces and I would spend a week or two just sorting them out, kind of measuring, seeing where we were, putting some together. I'd cut out little samples and we'd paste them to the wall and see kind of what looked like it fit together.
That's
and
awesome.
Then I would make cases and bring them to shows so that no one had ever seen them before.
Right.
And people could walk away from a show with a case that when they went back to, did you notice I got like purple on my screen?
I've got a little picture problem. Need my camera tech.
My iPhone did that to me the other day.
I saw it was green.
It was weird. And then on top
Geraldine,
of that, what's weirder,
the boss with the sauce. I need you.
The chat went green on 2 other phones.
Purple camera.
Never seen that before.
Oh, it's back. Don't worry, we're back. Go back to your cave.
So anyway, I told Karen about this, that we did that.
Yeah.
And so she's really, she's taking that concept and taking it into whole new levels because we've got other capabilities now that we didn't have a few years ago. We've got a 3D printer, not a 3D printer. I keep saying that. We've got a UV printer.
Yeah.
And with that UV printer, we can print fabric. And we can just make up anything anybody wants. If they want like pink and purple camo, we can do that. Or
Well, that's been in the making for the last year or so, if I don't.
It's actually been what?
Not mistaken.
How long have we actually been able to do that?
Because you did the Cole Dixon case last year. You printed that case.
Yeah, so I guess about a year now.
Are you saying that you'll be doing sublimated designs? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so that's different. So we have that capability as well. We can sublimate. Can you bring me that Efren case?
That's so awesome.
So here's a case that's sublimated.
Yeah.
So this one we start out with white.
Send me lots of pictures, Asia. I need lots of pictures. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. Oh, it's Efren Reyes.
So this is a case that
Philippine flag.
So a year when Efren was doing his first farewell tour.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough that he could come to our shop.
Picture.
And what I did was I invited like 10 of my friends to have like a private evening with Efren.
Yeah.
And I thought, what can I do for Efren? So in my shop, I had the capability to do sublimation directly on the case. So I had my Filipino friend, our artist that works with us, draw up something for Efren based on his perspective, based on my friend's Filipino perspective of Efren.
Okay.
And so he drew this up. It says the magician here, then the Philippine flag with the 9-ball. And then right here, it says in Tagalog,
Right.
it says, all my magical shots I learned by watching amateurs.
Okay, that's great. And that's true. I happen to know that about him.
Right. And so what I did was I did that case literally like we finished it literally like 30 minutes before Efren got there.
Okay.
In-house in my shop here. And I had all my friends that came over, I had them all sign it. And I signed it. And we gave it to Efren as kind of like a going away card, you know, because I thought all of his life, people push cases in his face and say, here, would you sign my case? So I thought it would be nice for him if we signed one for him.
Okay.
And this one is not exactly the same as the one I made for Efren. It's the same design here.
Yeah.
A little bit different colors here, but I made this just for me. And people have tried to buy it from me, but I'm not going to sell it because that, to me, that would be using Efren's name.
Who did the caricature? Can you?
That was my friend Dino. That was our artist Dino.
Yeah, I mean, because I know you had to have an artist do the sketch. So
yeah, no, that's all original art right there.
That's awesome. Look at that. That's cool.
And as we all know, you know, Efren is actually a star in the Philippines. So he's a household name pretty much there.
Right, right.
And so, you know, for Dino, it was kind of an honor to be able to do that. You know, he looked at it that way. So it was kind of cool. You know, it was a good collaboration, I think. And I was lucky for us that we had a Filipino guy.
Yeah.
Who's a good artist, who knew of Efren and wanted to do it, you know? So I think it worked out pretty cool. And I hope that Efren was happy. He seemed pleased with it. It was a really great evening with him too. I mean, it was a lot different. You froze up. Can you still hear me?
I'm frozen. Let's cut. Okay. Let's not forget about this Efren thing. We can kind of segue out of that, but let's cut. Let me try calling you again. Let's do another. Yeah. I'm going to end the application.
And I can do this.
Oh, here. We're good.
Oh, we're back. Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
We're good. Okay.
So one thing I really enjoyed for that night with Efren, you know, I'm a pool fan. I'm a player, you know, I'm a mid-range player, as you know, but, you know, I've been like a lot of us in our age group, you know, Efren is in our star group, you know, so to speak, or whatever, you know, I mean, these are the guys we grew up reading about when all we had was billiard magazines.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was, this was like a night for me, like with Tiger Woods or Jack Nicklaus or, you know, any of these big sports stars that we know, that was my time. And it was really cool to spend that time with him where it wasn't the normal exhibition type deal, you know, where it's everybody get in line, you get one game with him or, you know, a short set or something like that. And we just horsed around. We had fun. We drank Crown. Hennessy. He likes Hennessy, so we drank that. And
did not know that.
Yeah. They asked us to get it too. I said, "What does Efren like to drink?" That's what they said. So I send my friend to the liquor store, and she comes back with the biggest bottle of Hennessy that there ever was. It was like a gallon jug of Hennessy. I didn't even know they made them that big. It was like $98 or something. But but it was so cool. You know, we played a ring game with him. You know, 10 ball with like $1 on the 5 and $2 on the 10.
Oh, cool.
And he was awesome. He was like, "Oh, all of you are on my team." He goes, "All of you, easy money."
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And it was great.
I bet you guys had a ball.
I would like to think that he enjoyed it that evening, and that it was more fun than the usual, you know, thing that he does.
Yeah, I've gotten to play him too. You know, he gave me 10-7 playing one pocket, and then I did the same thing with Francisco Bustamante. He gave me 7 playing one pocket. Efren, I think I played him twice with 10-7. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I've
Yeah.
never
Oh
played
my
either one
God.
of them like that. I played
You,
Bustamante one time in a tournament, but
it's so funny too because playing those guys really did teach me a lot about the game to the point where I'd love to go back and play them again. You know what I mean? So uh, I hope, if he comes into town in the next year or so, I get that opportunity to play him again.
I think he'll be back.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was just the first farewell tour.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's
Efren loves the game too much. He can't quit.
yeah, that's true. That's true. He's like constantly looking for action anyway. I know if it's not pocket billiards, it's chess, it's cards. He's always looking for action, and then he goes and takes a nap in the bleachers afterwards.
Yeah.
But he definitely likes action.
Yeah, I played him chess though, and I held
Oh,
my
and
own.
chess as well.
For quite a while.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And he got me.
Yeah, that's. He's apparently, I hear he's a ranked player, a ranked chess player. He's really good.
He's real good. Yeah, he's real good, and I was real rusty. So I think he got lucky.
Oh yeah, there you go. He always got lucky, didn't he? Wow, this is crazy. We're talking about Efren. Wow. Well,
we have a shared love of the sport, that goes deeper than just, hey, what's going on with cases. So.
Well, it's true, and that's a great case, by the way, and that is an example of the sublimated case.
Yeah, sorry, I guess we should say that. So
yeah.
So the sublimation actually embeds into the fabric,
mm-hmm.
And the UV printing goes on top of the fabric, but it's hardened to the point where it's permanent. It's like you'd have to destroy the fabric to get it to flake off or come off. So we can do both techniques now.
I see. Okay. That's awesome.
And that has led us to do some really cool stuff. People don't even really know yet, all the stuff that we can do. Mm-hmm. And that's deficiency on my part of not really showcasing it on the website yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a real game changer. So we can do stuff. We've now done stuff with people's pictures on the case, like their anniversary pictures.
Yeah, this
which,
process.
That in a way seems kind of like one of the cheesy ways to do it, but it's meaningful to the customer.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what's important for me. Mm-hmm. But we have other customers, who are actually real life designers.
Yeah.
That are good at it.
Yeah.
And they've made some really slick designs on our cases, so I'm happy that we can provide the canvas for that to occur.
Yeah, you're giving them more tools too to work with.
Yeah. And the other thing about us is that I have always envisioned this as a way for other people to be able to make money with our product in that way. I don't want it to become a commodity where, and this happened with InStroke, by the way. It became basically a commodity, because most of the cases being sold were sold through wholesalers, which meant that I was at the mercy of the wholesalers. And it's kind of a bitter point for me. This is a little bit of inside baseball as far as, to make that analogy, but it's kind of a sore point for me that I went and made these deals with these big wholesalers back in the mid 90s, to the late 90s. And once they got my stuff in their catalog, they turned around and knocked us off and had knockoffs side by side. And not only that, when people would call in, because I traveled around the country, I literally traveled around the country knocking on, door to door at pool rooms and billiard supply places and tournaments, showing off the cases and making a point of telling people, when I'm gone, here's where you get the cases.
Oh, it's like that could have ruined you.
It almost did ruin us. At one point I was $80,000 in debt. Mm-hmm. We had almost no money left. Mm-hmm. And with the last credit card that I had, I came here to the United States. I bought a van. And I just said, you know what, we're going to try to rescue this by selling direct. You guys just keep sending me cases and I'll keep selling them. But anyway, they were still mostly wholesale.
Yeah.
So what I learned was literally that don't put your eggs in one basket type deal.
Mm-hmm.
Or in this case, don't put your faith in wholesalers.
Yeah.
And so now the way that people can make money with our cases, obviously they can buy some at wholesale, but we don't really solicit that. We don't really go out of our way to get dealers. Sometimes I'll let a dealer inquiry just lay there, and I won't even answer it for months, if ever. And part of that is because I don't want all of our capacity taken up by dealers. So I want to reserve some of our capacity to be able to have that connection directly with our customers. So yes, we have some dealers who make money on the resale because they get a discount off of retail. But the primary way that I would like people to make money on this is I would like them to be able to coach people for design. Even if it's simple, like just colors or whatever. Anybody on earth can go into our website, teach themselves how to use our designer, and then help their buddy make a case.
It's like the collective consciousness of case making in a way.
Yeah. And I know that
almost like an open source,
Yeah, I'm not the most creative person. I make these cases, or everything that's construction on here, or almost everything comes out of my mind.
Right.
But when it comes to design, I'm almost never going to come up with the slickest design or the coolest one. I'm not the Frank Lloyd Wright guy, and I'm not the Frank Gehry. That's not me. I'm more the nuts and bolts. Like, let's make it super tough so the damn thing doesn't break, and then you guys decorate it however you want.
Actually, that is a huge point about JB Cases that I would like to remind people of, is that, anybody can pick up these design concepts and these tools that we're talking about, we're discussing right now, that, make case making something kind of amazing, or, for the customer's experience. But what you're doing different than everybody else is you're really focusing on quality and craftsmanship, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I've always done.
Which is a big, huge distinction. Anybody can copy what you're doing, but you have really kind of like maintained focus to what we were talking about in the very beginning, making the best overall product that money can buy. And that's what I mean by that statement: best overall, best protection, some of the fundamentals that are embedded in your slogan.
Right.
True custom.
Yeah, I mean that's there have been several times in my career now, and I can call it a career now because I've been doing this for 30 years. Where I've been put to the test, of do we go with a part or a technique or something that probably won't fail, but it could fail, and whether we take that extra time and the extra steps to make it where we're very sure that it won't fail. And that's one good thing about where we manufacture right now, because we're in China, and I know China's a big deal, especially right now. A lot of anti-China sentiment happening and whatever.
Oh,
but
you mean in that sense, yeah.
That is to be expected. There's
Sure.
anytime there's tension between nations, then one nation is bad, the other one's good, whatever. But just focusing on what I do, the ability for me to take and pour more labor hours into a case and still keep it at an affordable price is what actually allows us to build these things so strong. And that's why I always insist on stepping on the gas. And if we can make an improvement, we do it. It's not just, we make improvements that people don't even know we did, that I don't even highlight, only because I know that we can, and I feel like we should.
So let me ask it. Let's do a for example scenario, right? So say you've been working with a case company or with a company that supplies you with zippers for 10 years, right? Great zippers. You're happy with them, right? But then suddenly they decide to cut a corner, right? You're not the kind of guy that says, man, I don't like these new zippers, but oh well, that's the best we can get, right?
No. And that's
You're more like, I'm not using this frickin' zipper company anymore. I'm going with somebody else. That's how.
Yeah, I'm basically looking around and I'm saying, okay, is there anybody who can do the quality that we had before or better than, and how much is it, and can we afford it? And because I look at things like this, like not in terms of whether we can afford to do it, is will we have to increase the price if we do it? And can we afford to take that profit hit, you know? So
I see.
The zipper scenario is actually really poignant. You know, when I told you that I went and we created this workshop because there was a factory, you know, that Sterling Gaming. When I sold InStroke, I gotta backtrack a little bit if it's okay.
Yeah.
When I sold InStroke, or I sold out of my stake in InStroke, one of my former customers, Sterling Gaming, they also have QSite.com. They hired me to come work for them and basically just bring billiard industry experience to the table, help them develop new products, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And eventually they sent me to China. And the idea of me being in China was to go around and find products that were promising, and if they weren't as good as I thought they should be, then I would help them to develop into better products so that we would have quality. And one of my tasks was to go to this local case factory that had been supplying some of their products and help them be competitive with the bigger factories. Well, I designed a really cool line called the Wave cases that had this kind of wavy design on it. And it was a really neat case. But one of the things I insisted on was like the best hardware we could get. And I mean, I took a hammer and this was my primitive test for these people. I was like, here's what I want, just to make it super easy for you. Put the piece on the table, take your hammer and try to break it. And if it breaks easily, we don't want it. Okay. You know, it should be really hard to break. And I knew that stuff like that exists because I've seen military gear that has it, plastic, you know. Yeah. And I'm not talking about just metal parts. There's plastic parts that are made so strong that it really takes a vice to break them, you know? Yeah. Was that your first sort of like, was that the opportunity of a lifetime that changed things for you? Was that chance to go to China? Was that your first time there? I would say so. I mean, if you look at where we are now and what we're doing, and of course my beautiful wife and kids that have come out of that. Yeah. You know, and I don't even want to make an emphasis on beautiful. She is one of the best human beings that I know. You know, I mean, seriously, acid could be poured all over her body, and she would still be better than 99% of humans. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know what I'm saying when I say that. And and that right there, you know, that alone, even if I had never built JB, even if we together had never built JB cases up, and we just had a life together somehow, that alone was you know, the magical part of being allowed to go there, you know, and getting that opportunity. Wow, great, amazing. That's beautiful. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. It was very fortunate for me that I had that. So that's amazing. So I kind of want to jump a little bit ahead because there's so much other stuff to talk about. Like, you know, you were just in Vegas during the pandemic and all that, and anyway, but I also wanted to ask you, you know, about competition. Okay, because my favorite. It was because of your competition that I got to know you. Because you made so much noise about your competition, but you did it for a reason.
And your approach, to competition is a lot different. But now I'm starting to get an idea for, your frame of mind. You've gone out and you've done so much research and worked with different companies in China, and you've basically busted your ass to assemble a real company of, you've got quality, custom design and building, all the components. You have overseen all of them. And what your competitors have done is cut a lot of corners to try to compete with you. I don't know, maybe I'm kind of trailing off here. Why don't you go ahead and, tell me a little bit about competition, how it's affected you in your life, and how you feel. Does it still inspire you?
Well, competitors that actually do cool designs coupled with good quality, they definitely inspire me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie about that. If I see a competitor out there doing something better than me,
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm going to try to incorporate that in our cases if I think we need it.
Mm-hmm.
If I think they're doing something that's useful and good and it's not gimmicky, then yeah, I'm upfront with everybody that I will take that, and I will also tell people where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
I at the end of the day, when it comes to innovation and when it comes, the only reason that we're even sitting here talking to each other is because people built on what people built before them. And so we can't deny that. We can't deny that copying and looking to other people and building on what they've done is part of our nature. It has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's what separates us from other creatures.
It's part of evolution, right?
But what gets me upset is when people copy only with the intent of cashing in on designs, and at the same time they cut the corners which actually defraud the customer, because the customer has a certain, once you've built up a reputation of quality that's coupled with a certain look or a certain design, when somebody then goes and takes that design but the interior is all screwed up or the zippers are weak, or and in some cases the case is actually more dangerous by the corners that they've cut, and they're so clueless that they don't even know that they made the case more dangerous.
I see.
That hurts me inside, because I know that when somebody buys that case, they're buying it because they're attracted to the look. They're attracted to that good look that they see everybody else out there with, and they,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times it's not even a money thing with these people. They don't have an opportunity. They've not actually seen anybody selling our case, but there's somebody at a show that's selling a knockoff, and they're like, oh yeah, that's a pretty cool case for a good price. And they walk away with this case that's actually possibly, or potentially going to damage their queue.
Right.
Which they won't even connect to the damage, because they don't, in their mind, they're like, they wouldn't even think of questioning the case itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that really hurts, when that happens, and it agitates me.
Yeah, or they might just say, "Oh, that's just normal wear and tear."
Yeah,
I'll get a new clear coat.
yeah, basically that's what it is. They'll get something will happen.
Yeah.
And they'll start thinking of, where did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Did somebody knock my queue over when I was in the bathroom or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And they won't think about the case having to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it pisses me off. And then it pisses me off even more when these copycat guys will make claims that are either not true or very borderline true, or they're just misleading, with the language that they use.
Yeah.
They'll say things like very strong zippers or something like that, Okay. And then when they get called out on it, they're like, well, it's my opinion that it's very strong, But I look at it more objectively in these things, going back to the hammer thing. Mm-hmm. I look at it like, if you can't bust that thing with a hammer, that's very strong. If you can take it and twist it and break it apart like a pop can tab with your hands, that's very weak. So don't call that very weak one very strong. There's a spectrum.
Yeah.
You know, and it just pisses me off because the billiard industry in many ways, for a lot of these people, is literally a license to steal.
Mm.
You know, we don't have any consumer reports that are out there on the consumer side testing stuff and pulling stuff apart and testing all these manufacturers' claims.
Yeah.
We don't have a federal trade commission that gives a shit about whether anybody lies about a pool cue case. You know, so these people are on their own. So if they buy a case that looks like ours with our design, thinking they're getting a pretty decent case, and they find out later that it's a piece of crap, and then somebody clues them in and says, well, you know, you could have bought a JB case, and they end up buying a JB case. Well, now they're a JB case owner with the distinction of having paid a crap tax, you know, for the case that they bought that should have been good from the first place.
So are you saying you don't mind that they might look at a case that is not as well built as yours? They might look at that case and fall in love with it and want to buy it because they like the look of it, but don't get that case under the misunderstanding that it's as good or better than a JB case. Yeah,
that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
You know, copies happen. I know that. I've known that with it. When I had InStroke, I came up against that. When my very own customers brought in stuff and put it right beside me, our cases.
Right.
And then, you know, so I know that you're never going to escape that. If something is popular, if something catches on, other people are going to want. I often use this analogy. If there were two farmers across the road from each other, and the farmer A, figured out something that would give him double the yield on his land, then farmer B would be a dumbass not to try to copy that.
Okay, yeah, sure, right. I believe it. Yeah.
So I don't mind people making cases like we make them, but the fact of it is that if the shoe were on the other foot and it was me doing the copying, then I would make it a point to try to be as good or better than and prove it.
Right. Or at least create a complete forgery, right?
Well, I mean, if I were criminally minded like that, I feel like that I could make a absolute counterfeit of what I make now.
Right.
If I came into it knowing nothing. Okay. And you know, but the thing of it is that I've only seen a few times when people have come out with actual counterfeit cases where they've put my brand on a case, and in that situation, the cases were so terrible that it's hard for me to believe that anybody ever believed that was our stuff.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. People will see a brand name and they'll think, you know, they want to convince themselves, you know.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
But it really is the people who just put junk out there and dress it up like something nice. And this happens in cues and everything too. That's what pisses me off, you know.
Right.
Copying, I don't care about.
Just a second here. Hold on. What? Yeah. Everything's fine. Okay. I have another question related to this subject. You have been known to be pretty inflammatory about this, haven't you?
About the copying thing?
Yeah. Let's explore that.
I feel like if you're gonna compete against me,
would you say that you're inflammatory to a fault?
Probably. I take things too far. I would say that. I'm a little bit like a bulldog in that situation where I lock on and I can't let go until I feel like every point's been addressed many times.
Yeah. Well, that's not necessarily like you being an asshole. It's more like you just being a little OCD, right?
I don't necessarily feel like I'm being an asshole a lot of the time, but when people come at me in a personally defamatory way,
Yeah.
which often happens in these situations where I'm just trying to argue objectively about the product and about, you know, the quality spectrum that I just described. And people will come out, they'll often play the China card, you know, or something like that, or they'll say, you're just jealous, you know, you're just scared of this competitor. You know, they'll try to
making
assign
assumptions.
motivation.
They're making assumptions.
Yeah, they're making assumptions as to why I'm actually bringing these points up instead of just listening to why I'm bringing the points up. And I'm very clear about why I bring them up, just like I was, you know, a few moments ago.
Yeah.
So, but when that happens, when they start to get personal,
yeah,
that's when I start to get kind of biting, and I can really turn into an asshole and take it too far. And people have said, well, that's like, now you're a bully. And there have been times when I've looked back on a conversation and I've thought, you know, I really did steamroll that guy.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to be a smart ass, but he brought his BB gun to, you know, up against my tank.
Right. He brought a knife to a gunfight, right?
Yeah, so to speak. And
so
because when you have the truth on your side, when you actually know how, not only how your own product is built, and you know how the other products are built, and you know where they all come from.
Yeah.
Then you've got knowledge. I've got knowledge that those people don't have. So they're only working on whatever rumor they heard.
Okay, so I give you a chance. You can apologize to anybody right now. All those people.
All you assholes out there who were assholes to me.
All you guys that have tried.
I apologize for being a bigger asshole. I could have made my point without putting you down and burying you.
A bigger and better one.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Just like my case is, I'm a better asshole than you.
Okay. All right. Well, you know,
but seriously, I want to, you know, I do want to take a moment to make a serious statement about that, and to everybody, because there have been times when I've gone so overboard that I've actually offended people who like me. And I don't mean talking to them. I mean just them watching me go after someone else has turned them off. And so I want to apologize to the people that I went off that hard on, that I didn't really think about or realize that I was going that hard. So I want to apologize for that. I could have made my points, you know, in many other ways without buying into the personal insult space. And two, I want to definitely apologize to all those people who have been on my side all these years, and it's been hard to stay on my side. So there you go.
I've been one of them. I know. I've told you this before, you know. But there you have it, America. You won't. It's not every day you'll get an apology from John Barton. So
I'm trying to be better.
Enjoy it.
I need to apply continuous improvement to my own behavior.
Well, don't we all?
Well,
and it's simple.
Karen doesn't.
Yeah. Okay.
She's perfect.
Yeah, that's right. She's perfect. So let's talk a little bit about. I want to talk about the pandemic a little more. You know, the coronavirus, and you basically, you know, you have this relationship with China, which in my mind gives you advance notice, but that's not necessarily the situation, is it?
We really didn't.
Yeah.
Because, you know, one thing about China, and this is true, unfortunately, is the Great Firewall in China exists. They have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people who are putting human effort into censoring the internet. You know, in addition to their bots and their algorithms and their AI and everything that's scouring the internet for what to censor.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people in China actually had less information or misinformation about the virus. How should I say this? They had less information than people in America did about what was going on in China.
Yeah, I can kind of see that, what you're saying.
And China, you know, I often think, can I get geopolitical for a minute about the virus?
Yeah, if you want, but I just want to say that should actually be noted as a harbinger sign too. You know, what can be, how society can be manipulated, shouldn't it? if you think about it. But that's maybe another conversation.
It is another conversation, because I know that's a big deal these days. You know, people are like,
well, it should serve as a warning to us, you know, like we shouldn't let this happen in our own society today.
Well, the problem in our society is that we volunteer for it. We each can sign up for whatever information we want to consume. The Chinese can't do that. They can't get counterpoints from outside of China. And if they do get those counterpoints from outside of China and then they present it inside of China, then they are in very real danger of being disappeared, being arrested, being harassed, some cases tortured, jailed for this. And actually, that's even what happened in China was, you know, now we know this, but the people in China didn't know that. You know, they had to get their information in a roundabout way about some of these doctors and nurses and stuff that were trying to tell the world what was going on and how bad it was, while China itself was downplaying it. You know, they were trying to and I have to say that in China's defense, you know, and I you know, that's a hard thing to say. But in China's defense, you know, they're managing 1.5 billion people. So a panic over there looks different, way different than a panic over here. Especially because there are a lot of Chinese people that are still very superstitious. They're very they're not real savvy about the world in general and the latest stuff in science and all this.
They're traditional. Well, yeah, China's just barely really become a developed nation in the past 30, 40 years.
That's correct. You know, a large part of China would still be considered between third and second world, you know. And even in the modern cities, in the first world cities, these folks aren't walking around, you know, consuming all the latest science news and all this and everything. They are literally being manipulated by games, apps, social media over there, stuff like that. And they don't dare criticize the government. You know, they don't dare. I mean, I had a guy that worked for me. This is way back when, but I had a guy that worked for me who wanted to go protest a waste disposal plant that they were going to put up that was like upwind of Shaman, of the island.
I see.
So basically, with the way the prevailing winds would have gone, it just would have blown all that output right over the island.
All the byproducts.
So they had organized a protest, you know, against it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my first year in China. And I told him, I said, fine, go. You know, I don't want to stop you from doing what you think you need to do to make your country better. But don't tell anybody who you work for, because I'd like to stay here. And, you know, that's the dichotomy that they have over there. I mean, there's people over there that are chafing for the type of freedom that we have.
Yeah.
And they can't get it.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about the pandemic and stuff like that, that is one thing where, you know, when something like that happens, China just locks stuff down. And not only a city, they lock down the internet. They lock down everything.
Yeah.
And that's, on a personal level, that's very hard for me to reconcile some days. To say, why am I even in China doing any kind of business? Why is it? But the reason that I'm there is because these are on the fundamental level, the people on the ground in China, the normal people, they can't do a damn thing about what their government does, just like we can't. So they have to kind of go along with it, and maybe someday they'll have a revolution or something like that or whatever. That's going to be on them, you know. And the Chinese government is going to do everything they can to prevent that from happening, just like England did everything they can to prevent the colonies from breaking away. So that'll be on them.
Yeah.
But the reason that I say, you know, I'm going to stay, not only because my family runs the workshop over there.
Okay.
but because these are normal, ordinary people living their lives who just they want to get up and go to work, do a job, make their money, enjoy their money, whatever that is, enjoy their time with their family, you know, and repeat that cycle and just try to get whatever joy out of life that they can.
Right, right.
And so for me, it's it's a symbiosis, because I can make the case I want by having the cheaper labor over there, so we can pour that labor into the case.
Yeah.
And I can feel good about helping some humans on the other side of the world to live, you know, a decent life. And so that's how I justify it to myself. But it's tough some days, I'll tell you what, because China is authoritarian, and when it comes to something like a virus like this, you know, it's hard. Karen, you know, Karen and I sometimes don't agree, and she's harder on China than I am. But she'll never say it online because, you know, she wants to be able to go back. Or she wants to be able to come back to America if she goes back.
Well, you know, in many respects, you're very fortunate to have almost those 2 points of view, you know, and you know, it's interesting to hear your perspective on it.
Well, I lived there 7 years, and one thing I regret is that I didn't really seriously try to learn Chinese.
Yeah.
And that's just because I had a lot of people around me who wanted to speak English.
You still can, right? So.
Oh, barely.
No, I mean, you still can go and learn it if you want to.
I could, but you know, it's not high on my priority right now.
Oh, okay. So the reason I brought all of this up is because, you know, you're basically improvising just like every other company is in the United States, right? I mean, let's face it, you know, it's not like we were that prepared for this to happen anyway. As you can see, there's governments and there's county and, you know, mayors and businesses, they're all improvising and scrambling to try to, you know, not only overcome this, but just to deal with it, you know, and address it. So having that relationship with China didn't necessarily help you in this situation. You had huge events that you were going to. You were just about to go to Las Vegas to do the BCA Nationals.
We were there.
Yeah, well, yes, but what I'm saying is you were just about to, and you'd heard about the shutdown orders, and you knew you had to go into this. What was your initial reaction in March to the announcements and the shutdowns and all that?
Well, one thing I want to be clear about as far as shutdowns goes is that when we got out there, there were no shutdowns in America at that point. It wasn't until like 2 days into the show when the major sports leagues started to say, "Hey, we're gonna cancel our seasons
and
we're gonna
concerts,
cancel these events," and concerts started to be canceled, conventions started to be canceled. And so when we went out there, you know, we actually did think about it. Should we go or should we not go? But had we decided not to go at that point, just from a personal company standpoint, contractually, we would have lost the amount of money that we spent on the booth. Obviously, we would have lost the revenue that could have been made out there. So we would have taken that hit. Now, I will say that we as a company, we could have taken that hit. And we would have then, you know, gone virtual and done a lot more live sales like we talked about. So we would have been able to adapt to that, but it was really up in the air for us. And talking to the other vendors, everybody was concerned, starting to get concerned. And it was really the whole talk of the whole thing. So it was when we really knew that it was serious, like super serious, was when Trump came out and said, what did he say? He basically reversed himself, and he wasn't downplaying it right at that moment. Because a week before he had kind of downplayed it. And I don't mean this to be political. That's just a fact. You know, he said we have 15 cases. It's going to go down to 0. You know, it'll be over soon. It'll blow over before anybody knows it. Life is not going to be disrupted, more or less, right? But then about a week later, he reversed that, and he put out a more somber tone, and he said, okay, let's all be careful. Let's do what we need to do, get through this. And it was at that moment that I said, somebody got into Trump's ear, the president's ear, I should say that. Somebody got into President Trump's ear and convinced him that there was more to it than what he thought. You know, so that at least he could come on there and at least, you know, talk to the nation. And at that moment I said, I think this is all going to get shut down, and it probably should be. You know, and I'm gonna hit a sad note real quick, and I'm sorry, I just have to say this because it bothers me. But we had a customer that came out there to the show, and a very dear man. We had just met him, a single leg amputee, former fire chief, recently retired. He bought himself a really nice case from us. You know, the guy was in a wheelchair.
At the Vegas event in March.
At that event.
Okay.
And he left the case with me because we're going to modify the strap so he could wear it on his wheelchair and it wouldn't drag or anything. And he died from the virus about 4 weeks later. You know, 4 or 5 weeks later. And that was back in those days when people were going, do you know anybody who's got this? And, you know, people were like saying this facetiously and sarcastically, as in, it's not a big deal because you don't know anybody. And even though I only met him for that one day, or, you know, like 45 minutes to an hour when he spent in our booth, the loss hit me. You know, it really, really hit me. And so there's a level in me that feels guilty for even going at all, you know? And my friend told me, he goes, look, dude, there's so many factors, you know, people were out there, they were going to different places. Vegas is a melting pot of, you know, if you're going to look for like, where can viruses thrive? Well, you got 500 buffets out there. So, you know, he told me, he said, don't feel guilty about it. But there is that little part of me inside that's like, what if I contracted it or had it, didn't know it, and passed it on to him?
Well, or just came back to Oklahoma and brought it there, you know.
Yeah, and so that, you know, that's the uncertainty that's out there. So when we talk about China and having foresight and what they know and the Chinese people, I think we have a bigger problem in the United States because everyone is free to say whatever they want, and they do. And we have a large group of people in the United States who are easily influenced by misinformation. And it's hard to see this because we always say go into things with you know, or err on the cautious side.
On the side of caution, yeah.
On the side of caution, you know, like you know, minimize your risk.
Consider the source. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You know,
minimize the risk.
We pride ourselves as Americans on looking out for others. We pride ourselves on being the police of the world, and, you know, wherever there's a you know, something happening where we think we can ride to the rescue, we do it. And I don't want to get into all the nuance on that, of course, as a billiard podcast, but I feel like that a lot of us in America are not showing that empathy and compassion that we pride ourselves on. You know, we're not showing that protection of the vulnerable. So this is a year where it sucks. It sucks not to be able to go out. It sucks when pool rooms aren't open. You know, it sucks. It sucks when you do make it into a store and a lot of the things that were always there. I went looking for ball polisher the other day for wax for the car, for the balls. And the shelves were bare. They just didn't have it, you know? And I imagine a lot of times they're not going to have stuff like that because the factories that are making it or the suppliers are out or whatever, right?
Right.
Like the stuff's probably in a warehouse somewhere, but they don't have truck drivers to bring it.
Yeah, there's somebody's laid off somewhere.
You know, a friend of mine in Finland said that actually he's probably not Finnish. I think one of the 3 Nordic countries. So when if he sees this, he's probably going to be mad at me that I didn't actually remember which one of those countries he's in. But anyway, he's a really smart guy. He says everything that I ever say that's any good, he says it better than me. So one thing he said that really makes a lot of sense is that our economy depends on a very long trail of a very long supply line.
Mm-hmm. Supply chain.
And it has many moving parts, and when one of those parts breaks, there's not another avenue right away.
Mm-hmm.
And when all the avenues break, here we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what the solution is, Daniel. I don't know if we're ever going to come to a point now where people can agree on what information is correct or true.
Yeah.
I would just hope that regardless of what people believe,
the
way they act should be with compassion and empathy and caring for others and erring on the side of caution. They can go out there and say all they want. It's not true. It's a hoax or whatever. But it's like that Pascal's wager about religion, about God.
Okay. Right. I'm familiar with it.
It basically goes like this. It's I'd rather act like God is real just in case he isn't.
Right.
So if he's real when I die, then I'm going to heaven.
Yes,
But if he's not, I haven't lost anything.
It's been presented to me in other ways too, that wager.
Right. But and that's what I say to people. I say, look,
with diseases,
Yeah, just make the sacrifice, wear the mask or
better safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry. That's another way to say it.
Yeah.
Like if you had to pick someone in your family circle to die of this disease because you inadvertently gave it to them, who would it be? Who are you going to cut from your family?
Boy.
And I got to tell you, I've gone into stores and
it's a little beyond. That's a little beyond Pascal, man. Come on.
Yeah. But that's what I say to people. Go protest, but protest like it might be real.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, that's rather, this. I mean, I was really.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. These are important messages that you're sharing, so I don't see any reason why you shouldn't, share them at all. You are sort of. Don't really know where to go with this right now. Hold on a second.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take
I'm
it
gonna
so
have
dark.
I'm gonna have to cut it here, and yeah, no, you didn't get dark. It just went the way it went. I'll try to get centered here and come up with the next question.
Yeah, let's go to a lighter topic.
Yeah. Okay. So, importantly, hold on. So, equally important, John, was the fact that by some miracle, you went to Las Vegas. Shutdown orders were issued. Eventually, the BCA events were canceled early, or the CSI events were canceled, and people went home early. Everybody got to go home early from that. Whether or not it was a financial loss for you, I'm not going to get into that. The one thing that sticks out to me is that by some miracle, it didn't start an epidemic in the pool community. Not that I've seen. I mean, obviously, you did lose a friend that you had made there, and it's a very sad story. But it didn't start an epidemic, right?
I think I think at that point,
or
a pandemic, an
yeah.
epidemic, I understand. We didn't get a lot of reports of people.
No
coming home
outbreaks,
with
major
COVID.
outbreaks in the pool community. And that was the very event that everybody was like, I mean, everything was canceled, right? And so you're looking and everybody's going, why is the BCA going on? Like I remember people like,
But
yelling about it.
yeah, we have to be fair though. Okay. We really have to be fair that the cancellations kind of started like the day of or the second day into the BCA.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it was only like some events were being canceled, some concert plays. And I have to think that a lot of those people, they have a lot of liability,
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want to be the one that stays open and brings in 10,000 people or more, or 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever it is. And the Legionnaire's disease happens, or E. coli or whatever through their event, or the COVID, where they said, you know what, we're staying open. We don't, I think that there were early adopters of that who were erring on the side of caution without any government orders to do so.
Yeah. It's got to be a difficult place for anybody to be in. You're an event organizer, event promoter. You're almost probably $1 million invested into something like this. You've got employees, you've got contracts, arrangements, and then there's a hierarchy of it all. Who is supposed to say, let's cancel? Who's supposed to say it? Is it supposed to be the casino? They could have been like, we're shutting down immediately, but they didn't, right?
And actually,
I think it was the casinos that said, finally, let's start shutting down. Isn't that correct?
Well, yeah. What happened is this, as I remember it, it was like all the MGM properties. MGM announced that they were closing down their properties.
Right.
And then it was.
But the Rio's a separate entity.
Well, the Rio is Caesars, I think, right? Anyway, there's the two major ones that are there. So one of them said they were going to go ahead and close down their casinos, and then Caesars said, excuse me, good time to cough, right? Talking about COVID. Caesars said, we're going to stay open, but we're going to have we're going to have it where the buffets, you can't go up to the buffet and the waiters have to bring you food and so on. And then the governor and the mayor stepped in, and that's when Caesar said, okay, we're closing down too. But I don't think they were ordered to. I think they were encouraged to at that point.
Yeah. So,
and then in the week that followed, that's when everything in Vegas started closing down, and like all the weed shops and all the whatever they called non-essential businesses. Yeah. The funny part was, though, is that I got into a fender bender.
Okay.
And I dropped my car off, and the auto body shop and everything they were at full they were working just like normal. So, I think a lot of businesses got away with being open if they weren't customer facing, front facing.
Yeah.
If you're like back in an industrial park somewhere. But yeah, I mean, I would not have wanted to be in the BCA shoes there.
No, you wouldn't want. I mean, and I did mean to be critical of them. Enough. I wasn't being critical. I wasn't trying to be critical. I just really, remembering the public reaction, and mentioning that I had a lot of Facebook friends that were like, "Wow, can't believe this is still going on." And then there were a lot of pool players too that were sharing their photos and, "Hey, we're root for us, we're winning," and like a lot of that was going on too. So.
That was really that flux time, where people there were some places closing down voluntarily and other places were open. And
yeah. So was it that must have been a really surreal experience. You must have been just like, trying to maintain that connection with Karen and be like, what should we do? Like,
yeah, that's exactly how it was.
Like for 48 hours, you're like, and you're probably
that's
watching
exactly
out
how it was. I mean, we were there. We were trying to use best practices, but people come up and you've known them and you see them year after year and they come up and they're just like,
Gotta
they
give
stick
'em a
their hand
hug.
out. And then other people would come up and
Yeah.
they'd be like, oh, we're doing elbow bumps or we're doing fist
Yeah.
bumps, or something,
Hey.
or just no touching at all. And even though I would want to not shake somebody's hand, it just happened automatically.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't necessarily wash my hand or hand sanitize or anything like that.
Dude, it's like really crazy that you didn't get it. Like that all the pool world did not share it. It's crazy. And I'm really glad.
At this point, I don't even know that I didn't have it,
Well, that's true too. I mean, a lot of people are asymptomatic and but I don't think I'm sure if you tested for antibodies today, you'd probably be negative, so. Well,
maybe,
I mean, I'm no doctor, but
I'm going to go and actually do that. But
yeah, all right. I'll side
bet. But yeah, it was crazy. It was definitely surreal is the best word to put it.
I bet. I mean, what an experience. And then you've got thousands of people.
Now, I thought to myself,
yeah.
I thought one reason I believe that the BCA did escape from being a place where it spread through the BCA through that CSI event.
Okay.
I believe that one reason why that happened is because a lot of people come from small states coming in, and actually out there, we don't even see a lot of New Yorkers out there.
You're right, kind of, yeah.
So that might have been, one of those things where as COVID was starting to really ramp up in New York and everything, there weren't that many New Yorkers out there interacting with people. There weren't that many people from other hotspots, possibly. I'm just totally spitballing here because I have no clue. I mean, it's just something that we talked about in the drive on the way home.
I like that theory. I'll go with that.
But for whatever reason, let's just count our blessings that
Absolutely.
the BCA, the CSI, wasn't a source of one of the sources of people getting infected. Actually, I think Las Vegas as a whole has had very little in the way of infection. And death. So
that being said, and I'm very happy that Nevada's, they're kind of fortunate in that sense. And then I think it's good. It makes sense that they would, because they have to shut everything down anyway. And,
but believe me, the thing of this is, it's not only the shutting down.
Yeah.
It was also, I think, the realization, and I think they even wrote this on their notice, the realization that there is pretty much no practical way to follow CDC guidelines at a pool tournament, because everybody's touching everything. You're touching the tablecloth, you're touching the balls, you're carrying chalk.
That's what's making pool and billiards so difficult to reactivate in society, because there are just too many unanswered questions with how to avoid infection. And I hope it doesn't get to this, but and I know it's going to vary from county to county and state to state, but I hope it doesn't get to the point where people are just instead of wanting to work it out, they're going to brush it under the rug and make pool halls the last thing that open up.
Well, in Oklahoma, they're open now.
Yes, and in Orange County, we finally had a pool hall. Danny Kaye's is the first one to open that I know of.
Yeah, and here what they did is they did this thing where they tilted up the chairs so you can't sit next to each other, but people ignore that and then they go and do it anyway. And the staff can't possibly police everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's an extra burden of responsibility you put on staff too. Having to.
It is. It's hard on everybody. It really is. My friend.
Every shift manager needs to become a drill sergeant or something.
Yeah, and you don't want to do that, because these folks are working and they're having to deal with it. They got to wear a mask all shift here.
Yeah, well, you got Jerry Matchin, who owns Sticks Billiards. He's like, I've got to get on to my customers about this stuff, because that's what he's already pre-planning when he opens up his business again.
Right.
He's like, but anyway, so you survived all that. Wanted to ask you what you've done. Well, I already know there's one thing that you're doing that is kind of a creative way to still sell inventory. And you've been using like Facebook and stuff like this to do it. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, one good thing that's come out of this is the online auction. So as I mentioned earlier about, the making these really cool cases that no one's seen and presenting them at a show, and being able to have people come up and buy them and walk away with something that they're not even going to be able to see anymore. So we lost that, obviously, with the loss of the shows. But we regained it by figuring out or finding out, luckily, that people will tune in and they will bid vigorously on cases,
Yeah. Well, you've kind of been doing it for years though, but just not on a frequent rate, right? Like,
well,
I think I've seen you sell cases, like have a fire sale or something, like as far back as 5 years ago.
Right. I've not done the auction format really, but what I did do was every couple of years I'll gather up the cases that we've taken in on trade or warranty, things that are blemishes, whatever. And if I think that it's still a usable case or it can be used like for a storage case or something, then I'll mark it up so that it can't be turned in again for warranty. And I'll sell it cheap. I'll sell it for like $50 or $80 or $100, depending on the condition. And it's basically first come, first serve. The first guy who says he wants it and pays gets it. And so as it turned out, we had I had neglected to do it for like a year and a half, so I ended up with actually more than I normally have. Yeah. And as we were starting to think about packing the trailer and coming back to Oklahoma, I thought, I don't have enough room in the trailer to haul these all the way back now again to Oklahoma. So I might as well just do this from my house and get rid of these cases.
That's cool.
And when we were done with the cases, we ran through about 50 or 60 of those. When we were done with them, people said, hey, what about regular cases? Just sell those.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, how do y'all want to do it? And we decided on basically an auction format. And it went crazy. We sold a lot. And we ended up doing 2 of those before we left Vegas. So that really helped out, it didn't make up all the revenue that we lost for the shows that we missed, but it definitely pumped up the account a little bit at a needed time. And since then we've done 2 more here, and we've hit on the fact that now we can just focus on making a lot more crazy cases and a lot more cool cases and one of a kinds and really, really testing our capabilities without having to have a custom order behind it.
Yeah.
Because now we know that there's people out there that are waiting and interested in jumping online and seeing what's going to be presented because in that format, they will have never seen it before and they will never see it again unless they happen to run into the person who has that case. So it's an experience event as well.
Well, it's kind of like the now factor,
absolutely.
Instead of having to wait 9 weeks for a case, you can have this in 5 days shipped to your home.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing of it is that there's 2 things that are fun about this. One is that people are getting some good deals, so once in a while a case will come up and there won't be a lot of people bidding on it because they're not turned on by that design. So like last night, somebody got a $450 case for $300.
That's an excellent deal, especially one of your cases.
But on the other hand, there's times when a $280 case goes for like $350.
Oh, and wow. Because it is all auction then.
Right. And it's no reserve auction. I mean, if people bid $100 on a $500 case, that's what it would be.
I see.
Now I can tell you this, that if that happened, more than a couple times, Karen would just shut it down. She'd be like, okay, we're done with this.
Right.
But,
okay.
But the other thing that's fun, and I honestly, I don't know how much of this I can really, take, is I found out that I can get a little tipsy. I can smoke a little weed or eat a gummy or two, get in a good frame of mind, and I can just have fun with everybody while I'm doing it. And one thing I've said often, going back to this, John being controversial and being a dick, is I've often told people, I've said, look, I make cases. I'm not a stripper. I don't dance for your dollars. But the other night when I did this one and I had about 6 shots in me,
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I was dancing for dollars.
Okay.
But it was fun,
You the more you talk about this, like I actually now I'm like wondering, because you do this on camera stuff a lot, right? Like whether it be self done or have somebody else do it, with you. In my mind, I'm thinking Karen's probably on the other side of the camera going, I'm gonna kill you. Like I bet that's happened more than once, right?
It depends. Okay.
Yeah. It's happened to me.
It depends on what I say.
Yeah.
One of the things Karen tells me is she goes like, stop taking people's cases apart on camera. Stop teaching them how to make their stuff better.
Okay.
So that's one thing she says, just zip it, don't tell all our secrets. Don't tell, and there's not a lot that I say about stuff that is one thing she's very personal about it. She's like, people don't need to know what we have, what kind of cars we drive, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't need to say that stuff. But her tolerance level for what I say on camera depends on whether or not she's drinking with me or not.
Oh, okay. All right.
And if she's drinking with me, then I feel like the best comedian on earth. Because off camera, she's doubled over. And I think she's going to literally split her gut sometimes.
Speaking of which, when are we going to see some stand-up from you?
I think you have to get whatever stand-up you get out of these impromptu videos, things that I do, because I'm too lazy to write my stuff down.
No, when
I do write it down, my performance is so dry and so nervous, so when I find that right balance of shots and material that I've actually written down and can remember, that's when you're going to see actual comedy from me.
I want to see more. I want to see more of the open mic stuff, dude. Come on, man.
Well, you know what? I got to wait until the open mics open up again.
They're open every day. Come on. There's always a comedy store. All right.
Well, out in LA maybe, but not here.
I digress. All right. So you got live auctions. You don't have a schedule for them. Are you doing any kind of like Facebook announcements, Instagram, stuff like that? That'd be helpful, don't you think?
We do the announcements like a couple hours before the auction.
Okay.
I'll tell people things like, hey, if I get 100 likes or 100 shares or 200 likes or shares, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where I thought about, a person who's interested in buying a case at an auction doesn't necessarily want to bring more people in to that, because they don't want more competition. But it's worked out, so it's been cool. But that's about all we do. I don't do a lot of Instagram. Asia, I think, is doing more Instagram.
Yeah.
I think I have an Instagram account, but I've never used it or barely used it.
Okay.
But Facebook is my primary vehicle at this moment.
All right. Well, I hope this all works out for you, and who knows, times change so often, you never know one day if you're just having to do live auctions or if you got to be at the next event. So nowadays, with things changing the way they are so quickly all the time.
Well, we definitely want to keep doing events, but it really has changed our perspective on how we can connect with with people.
Yeah.
Because the events, I'll be honest with you, they're hard. They're hard on everybody, especially the 10-day ones. So that's a solid 2 weeks of your life that you're giving up, and you got to be there 10, 12 hours a day or more.
Yeah.
But so we are grateful that we have this vehicle to do that, and we're grateful that we have enough fans to actually show up and participate, and make it financially worthwhile.
Good. And I hope that it allows you to to distribute your inventory without having it affect you overseas in China with your, you know, your production.
Yeah. Well, one thing it does do for us as well is, I think that not right now, because of the fact that we're just in that moment where we've lost all this revenue from the shows and we haven't quite made it up. I mean, you can look at my walls here. This is I've got this set up so it looks like I have some inventory, but the other 3 walls are kind of bare here. So our biggest problem right now is, of course, the transportation and getting cases here to have anything to actually sell. But going forward in the future, I think if we can reduce our expenses of going to shows and still make up that revenue with these types of sales, it will allow me to also do more to promote pool.
Yeah.
Because the money that I would have normally spent on just being at a show can be spent on, donating more cases to this tournament or that cause, or even actual money.
Hey, have you ever, I mean, if somebody were to commission you to say, like, make 10,000 cases for me, would you? I noticed you haven't done that yet.
I wouldn't do it, but here's what I would do. If someone commissioned me to make 10,000 cases for them, I would go find a factory that I felt, and not one of the factories that are currently supplying the billiard industry.
Right.
I would go find a factory that I felt I could work with and that I could teach to make the case exactly as it needed to be made. And I would let them make the cases, and I would earn a commission off of that, a little bit off of each case. And if the business was ongoing, I would insist that I be the one to have a cut of that, to oversee it. But I would want to find a much larger facility, a much larger factory that has the capacity to handle that. And if that order disappeared, if for some reason next year they didn't want to order 10,000 cases or any cases,
right, that
factory would just continue doing whatever they do or whatever they were doing before I showed up, and not be affected at all.
Yeah, in essence, you're saying that it would probably be a template that you create, and it would just be like a run for them, a run of production.
Right. That's how I would want to do it.
Sort of like a printer.
Yeah. Now I have told people a few manufacturers, a few Q manufacturers in America who have approached me. What I have said to them is that if they don't want to commit to big orders, that I would be happy to hire people to work specifically just for them, but they would have to give me a contract, to guarantee that those people are going to have employment.
Right.
Because what I can do there is in between their orders, I can use those people to help us be faster and better. But so far, none of these manufacturers have been willing to take that step to commit to basically having 3 or 4 new employees, even at China prices, under my umbrella to do that.
Let me ask you this. Is this an appropriate question? Do you have any reservations about not operating in the United States at all? Or, what I mean?
I don't have any reservations about it.
Do people give you a hard time about that at all?
Some people do. Yeah, some people do. A lot of people like to play the China card. I have a lot of really, hardcore conservative friends who are really cool about it. They're not bothered by it at all. They understand that we're all on a globe and we're all intertwined. And they're fine with it. They never play the China card.
Don't you know that just being conservative doesn't mean that you won't work in China? That's it.
Well, yeah.
I mean, wait a minute. I think Trump's 2020 campaign was printed in China, wasn't it?
So, some of it probably was, but I think that his campaign has realized that they better get their stuff made in America, or that's going to be an issue.
Maybe, who knows? But anyway,
but there are a lot of Trump products out there that are not sold through the Trump organization that are coming through China.
Right, and they're conservative, and that's a conservative.
Yeah, but
anyway, go on.
Where was I going? What was I saying with that? Yeah. People play that card. You know, it generally only comes up when it starts to be an argument about something.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've had some of the most foolish things said to me about our product that are just so harebrained that the people say these things, and they're first of all, there's no proof for them at all. There's no proof exists because the thing that they're claiming doesn't actually exist.
Mm-hmm.
So just out of their weird imaginations where it comes from. But when I push back on that and I do provide, you know, evidence to the contrary, then they start going to the China thing. Well, you don't want to make America. And a lot of people say this, which really gets me. They say, you sold out America, John Barton, because you moved your production from America to China. And then I have to point out, no.
That was never the case.
That was never the case.
Yeah.
I didn't have a production in America.
Excuse the pun, the really bad pun.
That was good. I would like to say that under different circumstances,
yeah,
if I were living in America and I had the opportunity to build the product here, that I would have made cases here. Mm-hmm. That I would have just started a shop and I would have sold the cases for whatever they needed to be sold for. And
Sure.
I probably would have still had the same mindset, the same attitude. And, you know, to that end, this place that I'm in right now is actually a new place for us. That's another thing that's a little hard for us, because right before we came here, right before we went to Vegas, we actually bought a new place to have a new shop. And we couldn't even move in. We signed the papers on Friday and left on Sunday.
The place in Vegas.
No, here in Oklahoma City.
Oh, in Oklahoma City.
So this is a bigger shop than I had before I left for Vegas.
When Matthew was working with you, Matthew and Rocky, and I came to see you in Oklahoma City.
Correct. That small little strip mall kind of storefront place that you saw us in. Mm-hmm. That is no longer. Now I've got 4,000 square feet here.
Okay.
And
oh wow, that's substantial, man.
Right, it's a house. You know, we basically went to the Lori Franklin.
It's a residential
of doing our thing.
Wow.
So the commute is great. It's 3 doors down from my regular house.
Yeah, it's like the commute to my job too. I roll out of bed. I'm here.
Yeah. But one of the things that I plan to do here is actually start producing cases here.
Okay.
To some degree. Now, at the beginning, they may be combinations of, parts sent from our workshop in China to here, mm-hmm. that we assemble into cases, and we can do decoration and tooling and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Some of them may be made completely here, all from American sourced parts, with maybe the only exception being the interior, because I might not be able to get that tubing here for a price that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So some combination thereof in the next year or so, you're going to see that happening as I turn some of these rooms into a little production facility.
That brings up a question. Does that mean that guaranteeing like all your warranty service, do you have to ship it back to China for warranty service? Or do you
very, very rarely do I have any warranty?
Do you do warranty service here?
Well, we do our warranty service here. I mean,
because I think I've seen Chastity. I've seen Chastity actually fixing stuff. Other people.
We fix it here. It's mostly me that does it, but sometimes I'll train other people how to do a little bit of repair.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, our repair capabilities mm-hmm. are going to get better. Like when Karen's mom comes here.
Yeah.
And she sits down at the sewing machine, then we can do the same repairs that we would do back in China.
Yeah. When
she's here. So as it happens here, I've got a pretty good seamstress that wants to come on board here. And so in the next couple weeks, as I get this ramped up and get the room all set up, we're going to start. I'm going to bring her on board, and we're going to see if we're a good fit.
Great.
And that'll be the kind of the first tentative steps into increasing our capability here. I always like to use Jack Justice as my inspiration for this. Every time that I ever showed my shop in China and I'm like walking around with my camera and bragging and everything, and this is an exaggeration. It wasn't every time, but in my mind, this is how it plays out. Every time I used to put that up on AZ, I always imagined that Jack just shows off his like laundry room with his sewing machine there and his like clicker die in the corner of the garage. And that's like his whole operation.
But it's
and
not.
I think to myself, you know, if Jack Justice can build great cases out of his laundry room, then there's really no reason, except for whatever deficiency is in here, that I can't do it out of a house.
To scale. Yeah, or out of a house. Yeah, that's true. Who were some of your, I mean, is Jack one of your mentors?
I wouldn't call Jack a mentor. I would call him a really inspiring competitor and friend. Inadvertently, he has mentored me in a lot of ways that I didn't really appreciate the lesson at the time.
Okay.
But he's a really savvy guy. He's really talented, an incredible craftsman. A lot of people don't know that before he was doing cue cases, he actually he did custom fishing rod wraps, and he did these really intricate wraps. I mean, I look at these wraps on these fishing rods, and there's several people in the world who do them. But when you look at them, I look at them and I'm like, how in the world was that done? So, you know, that to me is always going to be, that's almost to me more incredible than his cases.
Okay. Well, I bet they would look great. I mean, Jack Justice does such exquisite work.
Yeah, he does nice, clean work. You know,
yeah.
And one thing I like about Jack is that he developed a style and he stuck to it. He didn't try to be every case to every man. You know, that's something about us that, you know, can be seen as a drawback, because people get paralysis by analysis by choice, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of business books will tell you, you know, don't have too much choice. Well, Jack shrank it down to not much choice, but excellent work. And I think he did a great job on that, you know. So
you're on the other complete opposite side of the spectrum.
We are on the opposite end.
Yeah. But
there are times when I have restricted choice and I've taken some options off the table because of not wanting to confuse the issue or make it harder on ourselves, which is the primary reason why he did it. You know, I mean, the laundry room thing was not a joke. That was literally like he had half the laundry room, you know, and so he didn't have a lot of options to spread out and be, you know, all these things and do all these different things. So he just decided, this is what I'm going to offer. And if someone really, really, really wants something that I don't make, they're going to pay out the ass for it, you know, and a few people did. But so that lesson I took from him, even if it's not ever going to be implemented to the degree that he did it, you know, and I learned from him, you know, that there's a certain quiet reservation, you know, that speaks volumes in elegance and letting the work speak for itself. I got a ways to go to actually get to that point, but I've seen it just sitting with him quietly and just watching people just come up and just, you know, kind of, for lack of a better word, fondle his cases, where they're running their fingers over it and they're feeling every impression and you know,
smell the leather
and just, you know,
Jack Justice cases are amazing. I mean, if you're a pool player, a collector of nice things in pool, you know, like, I mean, of course, Jack Justice is something you're gonna revel over, you know.
Yeah.
Relish.
I mean, you know, I want to be clear, and Jack knows this, you know, is that from a technical standpoint, from a construction standpoint, durability, I think we built a better case than Justice built. But from a pure elegance, you know, a pure visual appeal, he's built some of the world's best cases, the world's most classic, you know.
Definitely a pioneer, you'd say, an innovator.
Yeah. There's a guy in the Bay Area. His name is Rex Goulet. He's a fantastic tooler.
I know Rex, yeah.
Him and Jack did a collaboration case.
Mm-hmm.
And Rex did all the tooling on it. He did all the coloring.
Yeah.
And I did. You guys, you want to see it?
I think I saw it at your shop. Go ahead, show it to us again.
I'll show everybody because I'm proud of it. Because
I know you have it it's in a display case in your Oklahoma shop.
Right, it is. But right now I've got it hanging on the wall. Okay. But here's the thing with this case, right? For me, I bought it from Jack. He had it up for sale, and I couldn't believe that no one had bought it. You know, I couldn't believe no one pulled the trigger on it.
Wow. And
I have owned, you know, probably 5 or 6 justice cases. Mm-hmm. I still own 3 or 4 of them, you know, that are the normal kind of what you think of as a justice, the normal tooled stamped leather.
Right. Kind of looks like.
But this collaboration really spoke to me because it was so far outside of what Jack normally does. And I thought to myself, at the point I am in my life, you know, where I can actually afford to buy something like this, I'm going to buy it because this is what art represents to me. Mm-hmm. This is the art I appreciate, you know, the most. Like, I appreciate paintings and stuff like that, but when someone can do something like this,
go get the case.
It means a lot.
We're talking to John Barton of JB Cases. Actually, I want to make something clear too for those who don't know your brand, as well as some people, that those cases behind John that you see there, those are all part of the rugged design of cases that I think you developed about 6 years ago, maybe longer, 8 years ago.
No, I brought those out first in 2012, 8 years ago. That's right.
8 years ago. But I also want to just mention that John's other cases that are a little bit more personal are amazing. His butterfly cases and the leather work that you know he's overseen and helped design are also something to behold. So I definitely want to just remind you guys to check out his website, check out his Facebook page, and check out the photos of his other stuff. I mean, JB Cases, they go a long way. And that line that you're looking at is the rugged line behind you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, the rugged line really is the one that blew up and got the most popular.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'll be honest with you guys, if it were not for the rugged line, JB Cases probably wouldn't, if it existed, it wouldn't exist nearly to the scale and size that we're at or popularity. Just because the leather cases and everything are so labor intensive and you know, sometimes it takes a long time to go from concept to design the way that we do it, especially giving our customers so much latitude.
That's the thing too, is it can cost you money, all that latitude you give your customers, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. But you know, I mean, people who have the money, they want to spend it on whatever interests them. So, you know, anyway, this is the case.
Beautiful. Is that a griffin?
Yeah, it's are
those griffins?
Basically
Welsh griffins?
It's dragons, actually. It's two dragons here, kind of a griffin dragon. Mm-hmm. And as I understand it, like one is Rex, one is Jack.
Ah, okay.
And then they kind of intertwine going all the way up and through here. And there's, you know, there's other symbology. I haven't really queried Rex on all of it yet.
Is this a collab case then, you said? It was between Jack, Rex, and you, correct?
No, I had nothing to do with it. It was just Rex and
really?
Jack.
Oh, okay.
So one thing that Jack did was once in a while he would have a guest tooler do some work. Like one guy that he liked to work with a lot was a good Western saddle maker named Ron Ross.
Okay.
Is an amazing tooler. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those highly tooled cases that you see are going to be Ron Ross ones.
Okay.
And there's a few of them out there that are different, that are other toolers, but the majority are going to be Ron Ross.
I see.
And this was the first one that I've seen that was kind of more like abstract in a way. Mm-hmm. And Rex did this. Now Rex did all of the coloring tooling on here that you see. and he sent it to Jack.
Mm.
And Jack had to sit there and do all the background black tooling or the coloring in there.
That's
so
beautiful.
Now here's the thing. There are so many small areas on here that Jack, if you watch this, I want to say this to you. I'm glad you had to do this work, damn it. Because this is the type of work that Karen bitches at me for having to do. And I sympathize with you, but that's a hell of a lot of work, you know, to fill in there and not mess up any of these colors. Look at the back.
And this is hand tooling, folks. This is hand tooled.
This is hand drawn, hand tooled. And another thing.
And that's something that technically you're not really doing, or are you doing any hand tooling now?
Oh, of course. Yeah, we do hand tooling.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, I have a really beautiful one over here that's going to go to a customer probably tomorrow or Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
We have another one back there that Karen's been working on for a while as far as the coloring. When that one's done, it'll be like 1800. So yeah, a lot of people don't know that we still do leather cases, or they don't even know that we do leather cases. So thank you for mentioning that.
Well, that's why I wanted to mention it.
Right. And another thing, if I can go on that for a second. Another thing that happened to us kind of right before all this COVID kind of hit and everything.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that Karen went to China was because we had to shut down one of our workshops because it was our leather workshop. The seamstress that had been with me from the very beginning, she had wanted to move back to her hometown. And you know, at that point we had invested like 5 or 6 years. We were together and she was really good. And when she started with me, she didn't know anything about leather working. So, you know, we really brought her along and trained her, and she became pretty good. So we had agreed to, we actually had asked her if she wanted to do this, and we agreed to basically build a shop in her hometown so that she could continue. But as time went by, it started to get harder and harder for her to find good people. And you know that thing where a copy of a copy of a copy is degraded?
Yeah.
So it was harder for her to push those people to do the right thing when there wasn't somebody like me for her to look up to and say, look, the boss is not going to be happy.
Right.
And so finally we just had to make the hard decision to close that shop down. And we brought all the leather back into our main shop, and we started training our people. And just now, you know, almost 6 months later, is when we're starting to get that quality and even better than we were doing before.
Right.
But it's taken that long to bring everybody up to speed. So that's where we're at right now. So everything is back in house in the same place, just one workshop, and we're starting to turn out some really good leather cases again. So what I'm trying to say is there will be more frequency of them.
Yeah.
And they're going to be cooler.
I bet they will. I mean, you just, that's the thing is like, I feel like, you know, as each year passes, you kind of outcool yourself, you know, which is great, man. And, you know, I have a lot of respect for that. That's awesome. So, let's talk a little bit about, you know, because I don't want to, I mean, gosh, someone's got to stop and get some dinner at some point tonight. But I wanted to talk a little bit about personal stuff because, you know, John, you are not just a case maker, a case distributor, a salesman, a designer, you know, a freedom fighter. You know, you're also a gambler and a pool player, and you have been for quite a long time. You're like, you know, you're cut from that cloth of pool players that we like the action, and you do like the action, and I know you do. And you're pretty public about it on social networks sometimes. Sometimes you're pretty outspoken, but Do you think that that's ever going to go away, or you know, like you, or do you think you're going to be in action again in the next 6 months to a year from now? Because I know
you mean big action, right?
Yeah.
I think if I were to get in big action, it's going to be a while before that happens.
Right.
Because for me, yes, I came from that. I came up in the pool room. I came up in that scene, you know, where you're basically two gunfighters squaring off,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you bark at people, you woof at people, you know, a little bit of insult back and forth, you know, to get people in a game.
Right.
And then you cross swords and you get down, you know, and so, you know, that became my home. That became my one safe space where no matter what else was going on in my life, no matter, you know, parents, drama, whatever, and long before the internet, of course, you know, I could go to any pool room and feel comfortable. These are my people, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know? And if you walk into a pool room where they're all squares and you know, nobody's doing anything, no problem. You turn around, walk out, go to another pool room. You know, there's always 3 or 4 go-to pool rooms that you can go to where you're going to find something going on. And so I really got into that, you know, that character that you have to be in the pool room for that. So that character, that guy who likes to be in action and be the center of attention, I found I could do that anywhere. Germany, China, didn't matter where it was. And I didn't even have to speak the language. Okay, you know, I could make it clear that what I wanted to do was play pool for money.
Okay.
And I'm not, and I have never, ever been the hustler type. I have tried a few times in my life to hustle people, and I'm terrible at it. You know, I'm truly terrible at it. I used to make a joke that says, you know, I can lay down, but I can't get back up. Because that's me. I've always just wanted to be, I always wanted to play flat out. I wanted to walk in and say, who's the best guy? I want him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Playing with heart. That's what they say that is.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, David Gross, once told me, he goes, there's a fine line between heart and stupidity, and your nuts are right on it. You know?
Dave Gross from Colorado?
Yeah, he didn't quite say it like that, but I like my version better.
Yeah.
He said, you hop over it frequently, you know?
That's definitely one way to put it.
And so I had never actually been in like super big action until I got into this game with this guy named Lou Figueroa a couple years ago.
That was it, wasn't it? That was a couple years. Come on.
Yeah, it was like, you know,
5 years, I think.
4 or 5 years ago or something, 6 years, I think. Anyway, that was the first real big game, you know, public game that was planned out and you know, and
didn't you play that at the Sandcastle Accustats?
I did. We did.
Arena or something?
Yeah.
Ed Ladawi's joint?
Yeah, and it was really cool. Pat Fleming was on the camera doing the camera. I mean, can you imagine for a pool fan like me how cool that was to have Accustats doing the filming?
I remember it. Yeah.
You know, and then so after that, you know, I kind of got a little taste for it. Yeah.
Oh, right. I know, but since then, it's not had the luster that or the appeal that type of show had, has it? It's been a little bit more back room.
Well, a lot of it has. A lot of it has, but it's. Yeah. I
know what you're saying though. It still serves its purpose. It's big action. There's nothing like it. Your adrenaline. You know, you're on a raw nerve. It's your adrenaline. It's all you. Your adrenaline and how well you're going to play in that moment.
I really can't describe how it feels to somebody. If you know, I can only say it for myself that everything inside of me changes when the chips are down like that.
Yeah.
And it really does become a battle within myself.
Right. Right.
to see if I can hold it together.
Sure.
And what I've learned about myself is I can't hold it together. You know.
Oh no.
And it's been an expensive lesson, but you know, luckily for me, the case company has provided me the income to be able to fade that expense.
There you go. You're still supporting the billiard community.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. I hope the tax man agrees.
I hope so too. Yeah, well, let's not talk about the tax.
You know.
So let's talk
marketing.
Let's talk more about community. You know, how do you, you know, you're supporting the community. I was kidding, of course, but how do you see the pool community evolving in the next 10, 20 years from now? I know you see yourself being a part of it, but how do you see it evolving in the next 10, 20 years?
I would hope that we start to treat this game more like the sport that it is. I would hope that we actually start to see that pool is very tough to master.
Yeah.
And people would start to really respect that. And that and in 10, 20 years, I don't even know what the prevailing networks are going to be. But whatever the biggest audience is, wherever that is, however that's broadcast to, I would hope that pool is prominently featured there and is an entertainment staple by people who really appreciate the sport, and not necessarily players or hardcore fans, you know, or league players, you know, or enthusiasts, by just people who don't even play, but they've learned to really appreciate what it takes to play at a high level. And I would like to see that truly happen in my lifetime. You know, with the IPT, I thought I had a glimpse of it. A lot of us did. I even made a post way back then when I went to the event in Vegas where it was Lori John versus Mike Siegel. It was supposed to be Allison, but she had a prior obligation. And there were bona fide celebrities in the audience. You know, it was like a boxing match. And I went away from that thinking this could be really the future of pool. This is what pool should be. This is, as a lifelong lover of the game, lover of the sport, I was very proud in that moment to be a part of that, even just as a guest in the audience. You know, I was a super nobody at that event.
All right, but John, remember that was like a dozen years ago, or however long ago.
Well, that's
right?
what I'm saying.
Where are we at going forward, though? Is the real question.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Is at that time, with the person who did it, that wasn't the right person to lead pool into that space.
Right. IPT, we're talking about. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, the International Pool Tour. But it was Kevin Thibodeau, and if anybody wants to do their history on Kevin Thibodeau.
Oh, I remember when it was going on, and everybody was talking about it. Max Eberle was in, and you know, he was talking about it. Everybody was hoping it was like a lifeline.
Everybody was. You know, everybody was hoping that it was going to be the thing. The thing is that pool, I don't think that pool's ever going to have that white knight person, you know, or that savior come in with a lot of money and do these things.
Yeah.
But what I really hope is that we start to look at pool on every level, even the league level, as something to be treated like a sport and not a drinking game. You know, because I want to give a shout out to my friend Sean King real quick. In the space that I just left, he has taken over that space and he's turning it into what he calls the pool dojo. Mm-hmm. And he's laid out a whole plan for training, and he wants to replicate this around the world. And you know, a lot of enthusiastic players have big ideas, and I hope that his is one of them that catches on and really works. You know, but I'm afraid, you know, like always, that there's just not going to be enough people who want to put the rubber to the road on it and put money into it.
I'm not familiar with the idea, but if you want, you can tell me Sean King's Facebook or something like that.
Well, Sean, SEAN King, Sean King. and I don't even know if he has a thing on there, Pool Dojo or not, on there now.
Okay.
But it's really kind of in its infancy. Really, all they've got is the 2 tables that I left them at this point. You know, pool tables, and you know, they're starting to stream some stuff. And
Okay.
but the point of it is Sean's doing that. I see other people doing similar things around where I believe that in a way they've probably taken a little bit of inspiration from the Moscone Cup players over the last couple of years, where they've seen these guys put their heads down and start to train and realize that even at the pro level in America, they can still be better. They can still be sharper. And I think that is having a little bit of a trickle down effect, where some people are like, so can we, if we just put in a little bit more effort. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see pool in 20 years to be something where when you say to someone, I play pool, they say, which team?
Okay, cool. Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah,
you know, it's not.
Yeah.
What do you mean you play pool? What bar? Yeah. What bar
are
do you drink?
Are you
at?
a hustler? That's the.
Or are you a shark? Or are you a hustler?
Shark?
Exactly.
Hustler, yeah.
I don't. You know, and it's not that I'm ashamed of that of that part of pool. I think it should be celebrated as well as part of the colorful culture of this game, the colorful history.
Well, it should never be forgotten. I mean, it's definitely, you know, part of the tapestry of the you know, of pool's evolution.
Remember
the hustler and the dark pool halls, and you know, the betting parlors, and
remember when Tiger Woods and who was it? Tiger Woods, who did he play for like 10 million or something, or 5 million or whatever it was they played for they had their challenge match.
Not Mickelson. No, he didn't play Mickelson for 10 million, did he?
Something. They played for a lot. You can look it up. But anyway, that was one of the most viewed golf events ever. Mm-hmm. It was like online pay-per-view. And so you can't ever say that people don't want to see that heads-up challenges. You know, I think that pool lends itself to that.
Right.
And I think that we need to have that right alongside the sporting aspect of it. Treat it like a world-class sport, and treat it like a world-class game where 2 people can lock horns like a boxing match, and
sure.
Somebody's going to come out beat up, and someone's going to come out holding the trophy.
Well, we all love it, and it's just like, you know, going back to the gunslinging metaphor that you brought up about 45 minutes ago. How long has this been going?
You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah, I know. And
I was supposed to be over at the pool dojo too. So.
Oh, really? Were you? Well, it's my pleasure to have you, and I just, you know, want to say it's been an honor to just be your friend and an associate with you now for, I think we've been fairly, you know, there was a time when I knew you, like 8 years ago is when I think I met you. For the first couple of years, I didn't know you at all, and I was like really skeptical of you. And I'm really so grateful and glad that I gotten to know you. And it's taught me a lesson in you know, not being a judgmental person, because, you know, you should never judge a book by its cover. So, are there any other? I'm sorry. Oh, no.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Are there any other things I want to discuss? I mean, we could talk about a lot of things for many hours, but yeah, like politics or something like that. But
let's
you know,
skip that.
I'm just glad to know you. There are so many aspects of the John Barton story that are so interesting. You know, not just the case maker, but the pool player and the, you know, political activist or whatever it is that you feel very strongly about your beliefs. And that's something that I have a lot of respect for. It's because, I mean, even if you were on a different side of the spectrum, if you weren't politically aligned, I'd still respect you, because you are a person who shows up every day for your job. You deliver your product. You go to any lengths to make sure that product's delivered, and you also do things that are very uh, there are characteristics to JB cases that make a lot of sense to every consumer, which is, that true warranty that you have, and the fact that you can, provide people with guarantees to your work is something you don't come by a lot. And so that's what I think sets you apart from the rest.
Well, honestly, it was never my intention to offer a lifetime warranty. That's something that Sean started saying when he worked for me way back, in 2014, 2015.
Okay.
And I never told him to say that. He just started saying it, and I was like,
No way, really?
Yeah.
He could have gotten you in big trouble, man.
Well, I mean, I always gave people a full year warranty, against defects and all that.
Yeah.
But then there was a point where I had a discussion with Sean, and I was like, man, I don't know, you shouldn't be telling people this lifetime warranty, because that's not what I offer. Mm. And I'll give Sean credit. One thing he always said was, well, why not? Why don't you? What's the reason why you don't give a lifetime warranty? Is your case going to break in 366 days?
Right. I hope not.
And I thought about it, and I said, well, I can try to make it tough so that under normal conditions it shouldn't break. I mean,
right.
And so I just said, you know what, let's just go for it and see how it goes, and I'll just keep trying to make them stronger. And that's how we ended up this way. And I'm very, I'm actually grateful and proud that we do. And I think that even Karen was skeptical at first about giving up a lifetime warranty, but now it's something that she's proud of. Mm-hmm. And she's proud of our people always looking for now how to make the cases stronger and better.
Yeah.
They err on the side of stronger rather than weaker.
Let me ask you something that I've often thought about when it comes to you. Are you at all concerned that, because you put these other companies up to the challenge quite often, you're like, these guys, you're making this wrong, or la, 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 I could never put it the way you so eloquently put it, but are you ever afraid that they're going to put their money where their mouth is and outdo JB Cases and really give you a run for your money?
No, I'm not afraid of them doing that for a couple reasons. Uh-huh. The first reason is that if they ever did build a good enough case to compete with us, then based on my knowledge, they would have to charge pretty much what we charge. Uh-huh. So it would be very close there. So the pricing would have to be close if they wanted to make any profit at all. And right. They would find out that the profit is not that great at this price.
Okay.
I mean, it's okay. It's not that we're not profitable, but we make less per case than most people assume we do.
I see. So essentially it's too late to compete with you in the market right now.
No, I don't say that either. Okay. Somebody who makes a real good case that is also in our price range,
comparable,
similar, is Castillo, for example. Gil Castillo makes a pretty good case. He has them made. I believe that he has them made in Mexico. He's got people down there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he makes them partially in Chicago or not. I really don't know about that, the complete logistics.
Okay.
But what I care about is the fact that he makes a pretty good case that's pretty solid, that's pretty protective, and one that I wouldn't have a problem carrying myself. I would not be afraid of my cues getting damaged using his case.
Right. Okay.
So you can look at his cases and you'll see a lot of similarities,
Yeah.
He came out with a line, a few years ago that has some similarities to what we do. But he's done his own kind of style on that, but they're quality cases. And he's in the same bracket as us. So now for him to really compete with us, he has to go out there and forge those relationships with customers that we've done.
That you've been doing for a dozen years or more, actually.
Right.
30 years.
And one thing I know for sure is there's more customers out there who want high quality, durable cases than I can make at my present, the
capacity, the volume,
the present capacity that I want to be at. Like I said, I could go out and hire another 50 people and ramp up, and pump out a lot more cases. And I would make sure that they were all the same quality that they are now. So quality wouldn't decrease. But then in that case right there, if someone did come out and make a case that was equivalent of ours in large quantities, now we're starting to compete on price, and it's going to be, a race to the bottom on price. So I would rather just stay small and make sure that we can sell everything that we can make by forging good relationships with customers and delivering one of a kind, unique, being very flexible, stuff like that, than trying to go head to head with, black, brown, and blue cases.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So if any of these guys ever actually did come out stitch for stitch the same as us, I would applaud them, because I would say that's the way you should have done it from the beginning. Because anything less than that, in my opinion, per my experience, is literally cheating the customer.
Yeah.
Now I'm not gonna sit here and say it wouldn't be tough to swallow. It would be tough. It would be tough to have an equivalent case out there that looks exactly the same and justify, why do you buy my black case versus their black case? Then I would like to think, okay, maybe maybe we still have the advantage of the lifetime warranty, something like that.
Yeah.
I would like to think that people would want, if all other things are equal, if the prices are real close, that they would say, I'm just gonna, if everything's equal, I'm gonna go with the guy that earned the reputation.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to think. But honestly, the real reason that I'm not afraid of these guys is because I know how difficult it is to do custom the way we do it. And I've seen some of these guys start to make forays into it. Like Castillo is doing some custom decoration now to a higher degree than he's ever done before. Acme, one of those knockoff brands, is doing some kind of heat press design, vinyl on their cases, which sometimes that looks great, but it doesn't last the way that they're doing it. So it peels off and everything. And I know that when a customer goes to them, they could spend hours figuring out a design, or days or weeks sometimes, because it happens to us, even on the simplest of designs. We will get people that will literally say, that looks great, but if it was like a half an inch higher and maybe a quarter inch to the left, and that'll be the conversation for 2 days. So we now are real good at that. And those types of conversations are less and less.
Right. Yeah.
So when these guys are out there trying to do something like that, and they realize that they've just spent 5 hours designing a case that they're not going to get much more money on. So they basically, all their profit's gone.
Yeah. There's a shorthand you have now.
Yeah. And I think that is going to prove to be the difference going forward as far into the future as you want to look.
Good.
And I think we'll always have clientele for that. So, I would applaud these guys if they actually showed up and built a good, protective, durable case. Just like I applaud Gil Castillo. Yeah. And anybody else who builds Witten, builds a nice solid case.
Yeah, the Witten case.
Rusty Melton builds a freaking solid case.
Rusty Melton. Wow.
Robert Millane is coming along. Tony Viesti is coming along. Al Kinghorn. See, these are guys you might not have heard of.
No.
They're smaller.
Kinghorn.
But everything they turn out is excellent.
Okay. Well, that's good. You've set a bar though too. So, I mean, I don't want to give you undue credit, but it's good that you set a bar, I think, that other craftsmen will aspire to.
Well, one of these things about getting online and getting in front of the camera and tearing into someone else's case.
Yeah.
and you know, and making claims about our own, is it does push us to be as good as we can be to live up to those claims.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what I tell people is I say, look, if you think what I say is full of bullshit,
Yeah.
then feel free to tear it apart on camera and prove it.
I know, man, but I mean, you got some tough love where people didn't expect.
Yeah, well, it happens, you know.
I
I mean,
know.
when you're the unconventional one, I get a lot of unsolicited advice from people telling me how to run my business. And one thing I always say to them is I say, look,
No,
dude,
really?
just make me a ridiculous offer that I can't refuse, and then show me how to do it right if you know how to do it better.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I've read all the business books, or I've read enough of them to get the conventional wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've read the case studies. I've read the Harvard Business Journal. I follow all of that. And I understand, you know, what people think business should be. And I also am keenly aware of the people who went against that playbook and who succeeded. And when people want to tell me about how business should be done conventionally, I have those examples to point to and say, well, then why didn't this company do it that way that you're saying they should have done it? Maybe they could have made 400 billion instead of the 330 they're at right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the real bottom line about all of this is there's no real way to do business. And now when we can connect to our customers, I can talk directly to people in this medium, and everyone else can just deal with it. You know, if they don't like what I have to say, then get on camera yourself and say it, or don't, or whatever.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
If you're just going to bitch about how I'm doing things, then you're not advancing the craft.
Right.
By bitching about how I talk about the craft.
It's a non-contribution.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't, you know, I'm at that point in life where one thing I wanted to say about all this is that I have learned that if you have truth as your platform,
mm-hmm.
if you can prove it, then you don't have a lot to worry about.
That's true. That's
you know,
good
because
point.
I know what it takes for us to do what we do. I know how much headache and how much heartache and how much actual freaking work goes into it.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people in this space that are willing to put in that work. And the few people that are willing to put it in, they're usually hampered by the fact that they don't have a good team alongside them to make it happen. They can't quickly do 5 different prototypes of a buckle or something, you know, or a buckle system.
Mm-hmm.
They can't work out a magnetic latch by doing it, you know, 12 times until they get it right.
Right.
Because they don't have time, because they're working on this order, that order, this order.
I can also see how some people can interpret you as being boasting or being somewhat cocky about the approach. But one thing I don't think they are seeing is the humility that is involved, the passion, the dedication, and just the perseverance that is required to produce the product that you do. So, you know, just want to remind people of that as well.
Well, thank you. You know, I don't do enough of conveying that humility up front, you know, when it gets.
No, you don't, but that's what makes you such a great character, man. Like, you know.
But you know, but honestly, I swear to you,
you're just like a pool player. You're just you woof at everybody. That's how you are. You know, that's the thing is you know, you are embedded in the pool hall culture. And the guy that comes in the pool hall woofing the loudest usually knows what they're talking about, but pretends they don't, you know, so to speak, in a manner of speaking. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I like to say it like this. You know, there's one thing that I know pretty intimately, and it's pool cue cases, and that's it.
Yeah. They
as
say
far as
though,
product. as
Don't
far as the
play.
product goes.
Don't play the loudest guy in the pool hall. They say, like be careful
Yeah.
with that guy. But
Although if it's me, the loudest guy in the pool hall generally turns out to be a sucker if I'm the loudest one. So
that happens too sometimes. It works both ways, right?
it does. It does. It's the high you can't buy.
Yeah, but it's Pascal's law too. Pascal's wager, right? Better be safe than sorry and not play that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
one
anyway,
of the things, talking about pool,
yeah.
one of the things that happened to me in Germany, I'll never forget,
Okay.
was how quickly somebody agrees to a spot as a way to scare the other guy. So I had asked a guy for something stupid like the 7-8 and the break or something.
Uh-huh.
And the guy was like, okay, you got it. Let's go.
Yeah.
And the way he said it, the confidence and the swiftness took me aback and actually made me back out of the game. It made me think to myself, I have just asked for something that I cannot win with.
Right. It's kind of like
I can't even break even.
It's like getting high rolled, Yeah. You ever been high rolled, where
Oh yeah, I know all about the high roll, both directions.
You want to play for 500? Why don't we just play for 10,000?
Right.
So
but no, there's a certain confidence that comes along with someone like that who's like willing to give up that weight that is unnerving. As opposed to someone who's just saying, let's play for 10,000 because they don't want to play.
Right. Yeah. That's true. Well, awaken the gambler within, right?
Yeah.
So I hope this has been good for you. It's been good for me. And if there's anything I want to remind people to check out your social networks, Instagram, Facebook, and definitely your website, and how, there's still a way for you to make your own custom cases on the website, which I tell people all the time when I'm live streaming, which is so cool. You have a case maker on your website, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's real cool.
And it's also a good way for people to play with designs. And I would imagine now with this new the sublimation method and the printing, the UV printing method you guys have, you're probably going to have to come up with some new bells and whistles on the website, right?
Absolutely. That's what we're actually working on. And it's unfortunately, it's proven to be a lot harder than I think it should be. So who knows? You might see me create a web development company here in the next year or two, just to be able to do what I want done on my own website.
Right. Well, that's just like any big entrepreneur, just in order to oversee and take and have control of your company. That's could be the way to go.
Yeah, I think so. I think if I had to think about what's fragile on our company, it's the website and that designer. So if that thing goes down, that's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah. It's like a whole franchise. Next thing you know, it'll be the John Barton Catering Company. All right. With that, I think I've digressed way too much. So I want to thank you, John, for coming on. I wish you guys, you and your family, everybody that works for you, all your friends and associates in Oklahoma City and beyond, hope you're all safe. And, I look forward to seeing you at the next event or events, and definitely want to check out your next live auction. And
well, cool. Thank you so much for having me. This has been so refreshing to have a great conversation with a great friend. And, I look forward to the next time we can all go out to dinner and Karen can join us out there and we can have fun in LA again.
Yeah, sure. Next time you're in LA, definitely give us a call.
All right,
go to
man.
Universal City or something like that. Oh, they said Disneyland's reopening today. Didn't they say that, Geraldine?